Hi everyone. Welcome to Market Kickoff. My name is
Hi everyone,
Anne-Marie Band. Welcome to Market Kickoff. My name is
Hi everyone,
Anne-Marie Band. Welcome to Market Kickoff. Okay, so I want to make sure that you can hear me and that you can see the screens. I have a little bit of an issue with my audio being in my ear.
the screens.
I have a little bit of an issue with my audio being in my
Louder
screens.
Okay,
and
you're
I
not
have
hearing
a little
and
bit of
an
an
issue
issue with my audio being in
reverb.
my screens.
Not repeating
And
myself.
I
You're not
have
hearing
a little
and
bit of
an
an issue
issue
with my audio being in
reverb.
my screens.
Not repeating
And
myself.
I
You're not
have
hearing
a little
and
bit of an issue with my
hang on.
audio
Let's
being
see.
in
Reverb.
my screens.
Not
No,
repeating
and
myself.
I
You're not
have
hearing
a little bit of an issue with Okay. How is it now? Dang it. I'm still here in the what in the world? And I only have one source for okay, here we go. I know, I figured it out. Okay, let's try this. How is it now? Oh, crudsickles. All right, hang on. Okay. Still happening. I am so disgusted. I'm not sure why this is happening. Okay, so I'm so happy you saw that. Okay, so here's the storyboard. I actually am I'm in my brother-in-law's basement. That's not true. I'm in my brother-in-law's office. And behind me, if you can see, are all kinds of things. And actually, to my right is a full-sized stormtrooper. And it's because my brother-in-law was actually an extra in the original Star Wars movie. But he is a gigantic fan, and his brother, if you ever watch the George Lucas things for ILM, his brother's actually one of their major managers, their prop managers. So he builds models. And so there is actually an incredible lightsaber. I am going to have to show it to you at some juncture, but it's truly incredible. Let me see. I don't think we can see it in the background, but it is there. He just got it, brand new. Crazy. Okay, so let's take a look at the charts. Big thing to look at. Here are the things. We have oil down, dollar down, gold up. We have the new month beginning tomorrow. We have, let's see where Yahoo Finance. Let's check this out. We've got the ES that is scheduled to, let's see, maybe open up 35 points higher. Yeah, 36 points. The Dow is set to open 289 points. The NASDAQ set to open up 151 points or so. VIX is down, as I mentioned. Gold's going to be up about 52 points in the gap up. Now, what we've had is an environment where the traders have been largely retail traders into the end of the month. And really, we had a record November from a low to high. This is one of the largest moves in November that the broad markets have seen. And so, as you know, I tend to start, oh heavens, I tend to start every time taking a look at the call walls, but we're going to zoom through these images really quickly so that you can see what the chart looks like for what is the end of November and the beginning of December. So this candle is going to change and give us another month. Come midnight, a new candlestick is going to start. And so what we see is a recovery from the low, super important, this low edge here. So we've had 5 months where we tested 6,521 and we've held it every single time. We made a higher low in October. We made a higher low and a higher high in October. We made a lower high and we held the low in November. December is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, so what we need to realize is that tomorrow, come live trading, we're going to see the traders try and battle up over the 68.72 number. That is the close of the prior day. We're going to gap up into just above that, right? We're going to gap up above that. And the call wall for the edge of the week is going to be all the way up here at 7,000. So it looks really bullish. The volume that we moved up on in the last couple of weeks in November was, or particularly the last week in November, is fairly light. And so you're going to have to watch for that. Okay, I'm not really sure why my video seems to have stalled out right there. But in any case, I get it. I know what's happening. I got it. Okay, so here we go. For the NQ, we are well below the close of October, right? We actually tried to connect higher off of the close of October. And so the number that the traders are going to have to look at for bullish pressure in the NQ is actually above 25,983. Okay, currently the call wall is below that. And so that's going to be something really, really important for us to check out. So right now in the NQ, like the ES, we have a lower high in November, but we also have a lower low in November. And so there's a little bit of weakness there in the NQ that we don't see in the ES. And so that's pretty important. Let's get a look at Bitcoin. As many of you know, I am a little bit bearish on this guy. And we can see what's happening in the monthly formations. We can see that here is July, August, September. No, June, July, August, September, October. Look at what happened in November. Came to the base of the formation, and now it's trying to recapture this edge. Although the numbers that I see are a little bit different now than I saw before, it is my estimation that the traders, if they cannot get above this 96,000 area where we literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of tests, we're not going to be able to move higher. I believe the high in Bitcoin is in for the year. That's just my general estimation of what's going on. The low of the month, notice the low of November seems to correspond with this area right here. And the close of November, we'll have a little bit of that tonight. We have a brand new candle tomorrow. It's going to be pretty important. I suspect they're going to try and bounce this price action to the upside. So I like that. Thanks, Eeks. I love that. I'm going to call you Eeks as a nickname. So we're seeing a $217 upside space coming into the futures. All right, so let's take a look at oil. All kinds of OPEC news going on. I mean, a lot of OPEC news. Some pretty crummy stuff that we'll have to look at concerning Venezuela and the like. Things look a little bit nerve-wracking from that space. But what we do know is that there are limited abilities for output in the current structures across all refineries on Earth. And that is just something that is. From a monthly perspective, you can see this thing is in an absolute mosh pit of price. The key area to look at is this zone from April. Look at that. Essentially, same candlestick. April's candlestick is where everybody has been. We are a little bit over that 50% line, battling at it right there. That $58 event is absolutely huge. Very, very huge for us to take a peek at. So, also something important. Let's take a look at gold. As many of you know, I put my stake in the ground here saying that I don't believe that gold is going to get a new high this year. But here's the thing. This prior month, the October's month, was really bullish, although they did pull back, and all of November has been retracing that edge. Here's the thing, folks. This is in a very bullish pattern. Higher lows, higher highs. It looks really very bullish. So if I am to stare it down and say, hey, I don't think this price action's going to continue to the north, I really don't think it ought to get past that 4,200, and yet there it is. It's above that 4,200 area, and certainly it means we've got to pay attention to this. Dips are certainly buys right now, and we've got this 4,307 that price action looks to be coming over. Michael Saylor said Bitcoin's going to go to 150,000 by the end of the year. Well, I don't know about delisting, Max, but certainly here's the thing. When price action and what we think about price becomes part of a belief structure, it will affect the way we see price patterns. And this is very, very important. How we look at price really has to be disassociated from what's actually occurring. And the best thing for us is if we say, hey, I'm just going to look at the pictures, and whatever they tell me, that's how I'm going to work. So let's take a peek at this. We're going to draw a 15-minute picture. It's this one right here. We had all kinds of resistance and all kinds of support for several hours into the space. Looks like we broke out at about, we could say this is the area, but this line in the sand at about 68.50 seems pretty important to me. Maybe 68.45. That's a floor. We bounced up into the space, but look at the VWAP, especially if I take this and put the VWAP on the highest volume candlestick of the day. That's very bullish. The trader gap up, which is 36 points higher, here we go, right? Look at where it opens and immediately gaps to the north. It's coming up over this edge. So this is something that looks like a breakaway pattern. We have anchored VWAPs that are up. We have higher lows and higher highs. And what we have are wicks that show potential supply here. But again, we're holding ourselves over this box. So what are we staring at? We're staring at a breakout of price. And so intuitively, this might make me say, hey, you know what? If I can have a pullback to 68.56, I've got myself a pretty nice long engaged. With my stop, it's going to be a little bit wide if it moves down past this area, right? But this is a very bullish opening formation. We've got about a minute of price action moving, so we could go to, say, the 1 minute chart if we're looking for this kind of motion. Remember, we spent all this time here, so it seems fairly legitimate that if we are building a framework of support, the price action is going to come down into this range, and it's going to give us a potential buy zone to the north. All right? If you're saying to yourself, hey, I want to get the VWAP, or I want to get the 50%, I don't want to miss out on the trade, you can certainly do that as well from this 1 minute space. So that should build out a position for us to start in. Let's go to the NQ. All right. I have no idea. What I would suggest, someone says, what's going to happen with the accounts that were affected by the CME outage? Listen, I had live accounts affected by the outage. Mostly they go, sorry. Obviously, Topstep isn't like that, but we'll find out from them. They are going to, isn't this office fantastic? This office is just amazing. My brother-in-law is a very unique individual, and I so wish we didn't have to sit around and just do just charts today, because I would love to show you how that lightsaber looks and sounds. It is beyond incredible. I'm not kidding. It's crazy. It looks and feels just exactly like the real thing. It's pretty amazing. So, anyways, what are we staring down in the NQ? We know it's not as strong. Here's the gap out. Oh, nice. We got a good fill. So here it is, pulling back. I know a number of people are bearish because of the low volume move to the upside, but I still believe that all the structures are telling us that the dips are buy zones. Okay, so if we're staring this down and we go, okay, let's make this one count, I am going to give my NQ a little bit more room to run to the bottom of the box. Let me make sure. So that limit order is going to be 385. Let me see what my stop loss space is here. Is that okay? Yeah, just under that pocket. Maybe the highs. Let's give it a little bit more room. Right there at that gap. I don't mind doing that. I don't mind giving it a little bit of room to move around in. Right? So it's almost 1-to-1 in that kind of space. So we'll let the NQ come into play. We'll see if it can come down all the way there. I'm going to anticipate that we have another bullish run based on what the options flow is telling us. Silver up another 1%. It should be pretty high flying, especially if gold is on the run, and it is. And so what we'll see is something pretty important. Now notice what's going on with the NQ and the call wall. It popped up over the call wall. The call wall, this is the big call wall. 25,500 in the NQ. And the put wall for the 0 DTE is down here at 25,300. So price action just a little bit sideways in that space. Let's go to Bitcoin. This is a big battleground. Notice, oh shucks. I wish I'd had that gap up for the fade, because look at how many things in the call wall from Bitcoin are coming into play, right? We have negative pressure. This is off the high. So we are underneath the anchored VWAP from days past. If we want to put an anchored VWAP over here, right? Now, this line here, this orange line, is the volume point of control. If we want to put an anchored VWAP there and we're thinking to ourselves, hey, I think I want to buy that dip, then you might look at, you know what, I'll try 91,000 and see if it's a go for me. We can start with maybe 1 there. Looks pretty good. Support action, it's going to give us quite a bit of room if we're just doing 1, okay? And price action should try to stabilize off this edge. But to me, this dip here gives us an area to bounce into another sell zone. That's what it looks like. This broad pocket of congestion, have a look. See, resistance and support. It's going to sit and chop around in here. So the buy zone down here gives you a really nice support range if you're buying the dip, right? If you want to go all the way into the lower edge, it might give you some price action to go after, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how that goes. All right, let's take a look at oil. Whoa, big move here. Let's see if I can get any news very quickly on this one. Okay. Okay. OPEC Plus reaffirms planned pause on oil output hikes until March. Okay? What they've said is, don't worry, we're not going to be putting any more oil on the market. Here's the thing, they can't really. They don't have excess output. They actually don't. So here's what we're looking at. It's coming right into resistance. If I were a betting man, I would say that is a sell zone, right? That feels like a pretty good sell zone. And I'm okay with this price action coming in and hitting my old resistance, new support, right? So entry point there, the top. Ultimately, I would have liked to have gotten this 50 cents higher, right? At 59, 57. But I still suspect we've got a topping formation, negative divergence, a pullback into frontline support. I would not be surprised if we have this floating around for us really nicely. Okay, now let's go to gold. Okay, so interesting. Gold gave up its push to the upside, and now we are looking at it coming into relative support. So this is a good exercise right here. So you're staring this down and you're looking at everything and you're like, man, that's bullish. You're staring down gold and you're thinking, yeah, man, that's really bullish. And it's been moving with a clip. And so the first thing you think to yourself is, you know what? I am hoping that it holds the VWAP, right? And so the question is, how might you want to trade this if you're catching a bottom? I would say don't use gold, but use micro gold. Pretty expensive to use regular gold and think about things like that. And so here it is coming into the space. Now that we're in micro gold, let's go to a 3-minute formation and take a look at how the traders came in. So this is a 63 simple moving average, and this is 12 or 14 or something like that, right? This is VWAP. We're going to move out of the way. And so if we're staring this down, you could, if you're a trader, you could say, you know, I think this is going to bounce, and so, you know, I'm taking the bounce up into resistance. You would notice that your support is at heavy congestion. This is why I draw the boxes, right? If I say to you, hey, listen, put the boxes down, what are those boxes? So the boxes are spaces where traders have worked through inventory, collecting and buying. Here's the thing. If your live account is not working, please head to support. I'm not able to do that for you, but we have an amazing support team that's there to help you. So knock yourself out doing that, and don't get frustrated, because frustration is going to build cortisol. Cortisol is going to get to the prefrontal cortex, and guess what? The part of your brain that learns how to do things that are systematic and need a technical fray on something like this, guess what? You're going to need all of that, and you don't need cortisol in there. So take a breath, say, hey, I'm going to go to support and look for that. So, question. What is a criteria for a call wall? So that's interesting, Gamma Boy Trades, since you have the name Gamma Boy. I find that to be supremely interesting. So what a call wall is just a collection of where all the options are sitting. That's really it. Where are the most options sitting? Well, you have to have patience, because they will answer you. Okay? I promise. I talk to support all the time. Give them a minute. We've got tens of thousands of us that trade on the Topstep platform. Let's give them a hot minute and go from there. So, you know, a lot of times it is a frontal cortex problem. For me, certainly. Okay? I just can't lie about that. So, here we are, sitting in this space. And so if we're staring that down and we go, oh, I want to trade this, our long formation, remember the first thing that happens when a chart breaks a moving average. First thing that happens is they try to recover it. Now, the people who don't trade moving averages, they're not involved. But a lot of people trade moving averages. And so what I like to do is find a box where it looks like everybody bought at a certain price and they did not want to buy higher, and they sold at a certain price, but they did not want to sell lower. That gives me an inventory event where the traders are saying, you know what? We've agreed that this price works. And so when a moving average breaks and it falls into this area of congestion, for me, I like to eyeball the 50% mark and go, okay, let's see if it bounces off that 50% mark. If it does, it'll go to the top of the box. And then if it does it again, it'll go in a multiple of the top of the box. And so we're expecting the price action to move up into a zone somewhere around here if it's going to reverse, right? My suspicion is that it does reverse around there, so I might sell a couple of those. Sitting right there, that's what I would do. I expect it to go from the top of the box, where we had the resistance, to the bottom of the box, where we had support. Right? And do you have opinion on John Murphy's book about TA? You know, if you like John Murphy's book and it makes sense to you, it'd be a great book. There are so many ways to look at the market because there are so many of us that have ideas about how things can work. And there literally are dozens of ways to look at the market. So my opinion is worth about as much as it costs you to hear it, which is absolutely nothing. It's how you feel about it, right? It's how you feel about it that's going to be the best thing. And so if you like John Murphy, I am just vaguely acquainted with his things. I am truly a simpleton. I like to look for where areas people have been buying, and I go, you know what? I think I want to buy there. And I look for places where people have been selling, and I go, look, everybody's been selling there. So I'm going to try and do that. And that's all there is so much. 2 of my XFAs are on life support. What's the best way of drawdown recovery? What a fantastic question. So here's a couple of things let me answer this one because it's easy first. Number 1, which book would you recommend about psychology? You know what? Anything that Brett Steenbarger has put out will help you. But a lovely book, I say lovely, I found it to be lovely because I really like the woman. Her name's Annie Duke, and she wrote a book called Thinking in Bets. It's one of the best books about psychology you could possibly read. Right? You could read Mark Douglas, Trading in the Zone. But here's the thing about psychology books. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so sometimes we have these ideas about what's stopping us, but it's not what's really stopping us. It's something completely different. Right? It's something completely different. Let's see what's going on in here. Looks like a bunch of sideways chit chat. All right, so we got this. Oh, we're going to have this stop out. What do we think? Do we want to leave this one here? Let's put our stop up here. Oopsie, it's going to knock me out. Crud. I don't want to do that. Let's see if it goes to the top. It looks good, right? It looks pretty good right here. We've got our NQ that has not triggered. So what's triggered is our oil, and that's got us underwater. Yep. All right. So we see that here. This is what I thought. Hey, 50 cents higher, I'd be in really great shape. So, yeah, let's just see how that goes. All right. So let's answer this really great question about my XFAs are on life support. What should I do? So, first of all, you got to chip away little bit at a time. Chip, 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 chip away little bit at a time. And you got to go small and keep going small until you've got yourself a cushion. Now, here's what happens to us. We chip, chip, chip away, and we go, okay, I got it. And then all of a sudden we size up. Think about how it should actually be if you've got a live account on an XFA. Let's say that XFA amount is live. And you go in and you buy an ES contract. $6,000 of margin minimum. It's like $6,800. Okay? $6,800 of margin. Good for you, Ryan, but my short isn't until the top of that edge. So if you can go long, good on you. That's awesome. And if you're going against me, it's two that makes a market. I love that. All right, so here's where we are. What I want to say from that perspective is, hey, listen, start small, go someplace that you know. Remember, you got it to the area that it is on life support for over leveraging and continuing to move on the side with a lot of leverage that stops you in the space. Okay, so I'm going to cover this. All right, now let's go to oil. So here we are in the space. Oh, that's so great. I should have doubled in. Dang it. All right. Well, what I know is that resistance lies up there, so I'm able to pull my stop in just a little bit. All right. So it's very, very hard to say, all right, you know what? My XFA is on life support. I'm going to go down to 1 micro, and I'm just going to manage that. It's going to be so terribly annoying to you, but I promise that's the way you should do it. 1 micro at a time. 1 micro at a time, and just chip away $50, $100, $50, $150. Because here's the thing, the longer you hold a trade, the more likely it is that you have to give yourself a longer risk event, right? Because longer candlesticks cover more range. And so if you are staring that down, you do have to chip, chip, chip. It's sort of like what MP says, you know, jab, 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 jab. So keep small and go, listen, I know this is a pain in the neck, but here's how you look at it. You think to yourself, all right, I got this. I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say, if I can do this over and over again, and I can make $50 with 1 ES contract, and I know the rhythm, and I understand the rhythm, and I understand support, resistance, trend, momentum, and I've got it all together. If you go over and over and over again and you start building that balance back, when it's time to go back to that higher level, you're going to say, okay, now I'm going to be able to make 500 at a clip with 1 ES. 1 ES at a time. And that's going to be absolutely fantastic. You really are going to love seeing how that works. Okay? So just get after it. Took the short in MGC, 9 minutes, 1 minute. Fantastic. Let's take a peek at that. Right? Let's go here. Oh, micro Sally. All right, top of the box. Very nice, right? It looks like it's got the top of the box. See, for me, here's my storyboard. When I look at a chart and I go, hey, I want to take a short, what I want to see are a lot of things telling me, hey, you got a short that's in the mix. So how does that look? Well, first thing, I would have downward trend. Do I have it on a 3-minute here? Yeah, that'd be no. I don't have it. Now, I am at resistance, and I do see a gap. So there's the possibility that something might show up over here, right? Something. 42.58 might show up there. But I'm looking for where everyone said, you know what? I'm selling that. And that came here at this 42.61. It came here at this 42.61. It came here at this 42.60. And then it came here at, just a little bit under 42.60. So I could easily take the short, but I want to wait until it comes into a space where everybody said sell. Now, you could go, yes, Anne-Marie, but here is support, here's resistance, here's broken. Absolutely. But still, it tells me, well, wait a second. I am above a flat moving average. I'm above this average. And if I anchor a VWAP to the low, I'm also above my VWAP. So nothing there tells me I have an edge for a short. All of it tells me, hey, buddy, you probably ought to buy the dip. Right? So that's it in my thought. But you could scalp. Well, I'm very happy that you like the background van life. This is my brother-in-law's office. It's absolutely fantastic. Oh, here, can we see this micro give us the resistance? If this misses me, I'm going to be pretty upset. Come on. Come on, let's see. But do you see what I mean about getting into a short? How there's nothing here that tells me, hey, you got a short. The only thing I see are short opportunities here. And so I'm going to wait for them. That's why the long, give us a quick tour. That's hilarious. I'm not even sure how to do that. But yeah, that's what we would do. So still waiting on that. Let's see how oil looks. Here's the thing. You might be saying to yourself, holy cow, you're using minis and you've got a bunch of trades sitting out in 5 different charts and you're sitting around talking about them. Why? How are you doing that? So here's the thing, folks. The big picture frameworks tell me, let's see what happened here. The big picture frameworks tell me what I am staring down. So here we go. Bitcoin has come back into my edge. I want to move that all the way up there. Yeah, let's move it here. Right? And if it comes down, it's popping up over this edge. I see a lot of negative momentum. I'm underneath all these edges, but I'm sitting in a zone where buyers might have the stronghold. But I don't know for sure. What I do see is buyers coming up from underneath, and so I'm going to wait for them to hold this area before I add to the position on the upside. Yes, I am. We missed gold. Yeah, sometimes that happens. But here's my gut. My gut says we haven't missed it. My gut says we haven't missed it. Now, why? Why haven't we missed it here? Well, a couple of reasons. My thought. I could still be very wrong. My couple of reasons are this. One, we still have actually not tested that edge, although it came pretty stinking close. And in hindsight, maybe I should have let it come in. But here's the beauty. When you set up a trade like this, right, and you're staring this down, your thought should be, okay, this has got to break support, bounce, and give me a lower high. And then I'll get to move into the trade that I want. See, so it's still making higher lows for me. So not quite. What I'm looking for is the possibility that it bounces and gives me another lower high or a topping formation that gives me sideways pressure. So that's how you look for something and you don't chase, right? Super important. Don't chase. Wait for it. Wait for it. I saw this really cool documentary, I think, or maybe it was a movie. I can't remember. But there was this little Inuit girl, and she was hunting rabbits with a slingshot. And she waited for hours for this rabbit to get out of its hole to wait for, literally, she must have waited for that thing for 4 hours. And she finally got it. As traders, we have to learn to be more patient. Patience is so important. My foot is going to sleep, folks. All right, there we go. I'm fine now. All right, patience is so important. I mean, it is incredibly important. Why not buy the 200 simple moving average? I do not buy moving averages. I just don't. Why? I don't know. Is it a 200 on a 1 minute? A 200 on a 2 minute? 200 on a 3 minute? 5 minute? 15 minute? Hour? 30 minutes? I don't have any idea. Right? What I do know is the following. Support and resistance mark specific lines irrespective of time. And so it's really important, really important that you be patient, pace yourself out, and run with what the market is telling you. Right now, it's still got a bullish undercurrent sitting under there. So I don't really want to wiggle through that too much. I did see the oil trade just shift negative again. What this is, it's holding a support zone, so I don't love that. Higher low, I don't love that. So yeah, I'm going to leave my stop right there. And then the hope is with this very high oscillator, my hope is that it rotates and comes back into our framework that began our opening trade. So it might be that we hold this resistance zone, though I'm going to use a 5 minute. Let's see what the 5 minute tells me. 5 minute, if I had two contracts, I would put one here at 59.35, and I would put a second one here at 59.30. Oh, there's the gold. So there we are, waiting on it, right? Yes, folks, I am very old and very married. So there you are. Okay. Very funny. All right. So let's talk about the interesting things that we heard on the news over the weekend and see what we've got in the mix. Let's go back to gold. Let's go back to oil. This one's pretty choppy. So we might see, here's what we're seeing. A topping formation. So far that looks good. So a lower high. What we want to do, if we want to keep this short, we want more sellers to show up. We want to break this low. If we can't, the price action is telling us that buyers are trying to come into the market and position themselves in order to have more upside move. Okay? And that's true, right? In terms of the moving average, it's very, very true. We really have to be very conscious of what's going on here. NQ negative, let's go. We're still waiting on that pullback, right? Still waiting on the pullback. Let's see what happened to the ES once we got out of that long. Perfect. Look at that. Love it. Plan comes together. We got out right here at the top, right? And now we're inside of this box. So remember what I said. You draw the box of where people buy and then sell, and then buy again, and then sell, and then buy again. All of a sudden they keep buying over the edge here. So what we want to see is how well they hold the 50% range. That's 68.50, right? So we'll see how they do from a sideways perspective here. But that was a really nice trade that just said, listen, I'm going to see where we were the last time we were trading. Then I'm going to see where old support is. So we're going to buy it at that old support zone and we're going to sell it at the resistance. Why? Because we have upward trend. Now we're sitting in between these two moving averages. All right, so let's get back to this one is the one we really are focused on for now. And then let's go again to micro gold. All right, so we're waiting for these things to sort themselves out. Okay. And Marie, it seems Dow and the NQ might be down a bit. Yeah, that would be nice to hit the thumbs up. I love that. So, how do I draw the box? Great question. First thing I do, I go to a 30-minute chart. And I look at it and go, okay, can I see where the traders had a box? And I'll change the color of this box so you can see it's actually a different box, right? So they were accumulating here. See, they broke out. Here they were inside of here. And then they broke out. And they came back in, and then they broke out again. And so now they're sitting at the top of the box. So really, all I'm doing, not rocket science, folks, it's also not exact. And here's what I want to share with you. In the business of trading, exactness is going to be something that can give you strength until you try to become too exact, and then it will create weaknesses in your trading environment. What does that mean? You want to make sure that you're exact enough that you manage your risk well, but you are not so exact that you're keeping your area to enter so small and so tight, or your risk so small and so tight that you end up dying death by 1,000 cuts. Okay? This is very, very important. Death by 1,000 cuts is atrocious. You don't want that to happen to you. It's the worst. How do I know? I've lived it. I've experienced it. It's pretty crummy. But I'll go to a 30-minute and I'll just draw a box. Now notice, you can draw all kinds of boxes. They're your boxes. You can do whatever you want with them. You can go, ooh, that looks like a box. I wonder if they're going to hold that. People will come in and they'll go, ooh, I think I'm going to buy that 59.40. So far, they look pretty good buying that zone. right? I have taken this trade and I'm looking at it, and really I'm thinking to myself, should I even have taken that trade? It's generally bullish. I'm above the VWAP. If I go to the 1 minute, I can see the battleground. Look at these guys battling. Just a huge battle in price flow. And what are they telling me? I made a higher high, and now I'm making higher lows. So if I were a betting man, I would say this trade might work for you sometime, but it's going to give you the business right now. You know what I'm saying? Because if it breaks out, there's somebody up here that's going to do a buy stop, or somebody up here who's going to watch for the first retest of all of this sideways price action, and they're going to say, you know what, I'm going long because I am seeing pressure building underneath. So I'm going to cover that trade because I don't like it anymore. Now, could it be it's going to be a great trade? Yes, but I don't like it anymore, and so I've gotten out of it. Here's the thing. This trade, this short, is going to be a very nice short as long as it eventually breaks 59.40. If it doesn't, it's not going to be a good trade. It's going to stay here and then move right back up to the top of the box. Do I like looking at a 1 minute chart to trade? I do not. I really don't like it at all. Let's see where we are here. Here's our micro Bitcoin trade, a little bit upside down in this zone. It's literally got to hold this 90,500. Leave it right there. And finally, let's see what we've got going on with the micro gold. Notice, here's what it did. Held the base, and now it's back up at that resistance zone. It's back up. So here's the thing. What are we seeing here? If we stare this down, we see higher highs and still a higher low. So what do we need for this chart to do in the near term? It better not break the top edge of this box, or we're sitting on the wrong side of the trade. Now, some of us might go, man, you know, what I really ought to do is just wait it out. And here's the thing. Although we are saying, hey, I took a trade, this is my risk, this is my reward, we can see observations as the trade develops that tell us we're on the wrong side of the trade and we chose poorly. There's nothing wrong with looking at something and going, all right, let's go to the 1 minute, see what we got going on here. If I'm trading a scalp event, right? If I'm saying to myself, hey, I think there's a fade coming here, what don't I want to see? I really do not want to see higher lows and higher highs continuing. I don't. I want to see the break of that. If it comes, great, and I'm in good shape. If it doesn't come, I'm on the wrong side of the trade. And so I can look at my initial parameters and I can say, you know what? I'm moving my stop down because I don't like what this is doing structurally. And if I come back to my 15-minute chart and I say, well, wait a second, what's actually happening? If my 15-minute chart keeps making new highs, it's going to try and get to the old top of the box business. It simply is. So at that space, I must think to myself, well, wait a second, you know, I got to take a look at this and see if I'm sitting on the wrong side of the trade. If the buyers keep coming in here, I've got a problem, right? I have a problem if the buyers keep coming in. And how are you doing the stop loss and your profit target? I'm using position brackets. And when the trade initiates, I get, I think, 250 loss and 450 gain. Those are what my parameters are, but I slide them around all the time. Thanks for being here, Bruno. I appreciate you so much. Anne-Marie, I've been holding off activating my XFAs due to Topstep instability. How's it looking out there now? When was the last outage? Well, you know, the last outage, I can't recall. I don't know. The CME had a structural outage on Friday that whacked a lot of us. Well, thank you very much, Goldmine Dot. Here's the thing. Here's what I would love for traders to really embrace. Risk capital is something that we are given in Topstep, and a lot of times we don't realize how positively amazing it is that we have those opportunities, but we over leverage so often. It is dreadful that we over leverage. So it's true, things happen. And listen, I don't know if you guys are noticing, but a lot of things are happening like this, right? We've got Dubai was out 2.5 weeks ago. Azure, Microsoft's, was down a couple months ago. Amazon was down several weeks ago. And now the CME controls also down. Cooling problems. Some of you know I have a tinfoil hat that sits at the bottom of my drawer. And so my thought is we really need to be careful with risk overall, right? We've got to manage our risk thresholds and not count on things happening, because guess what? When you train up in these prop accounts and you eventually have funds that you can go someplace live, the rubber meets the road with you. Your click of the button, your commitment to the trade, your management of the risk, it's on you. And I could tell you, I've been trading live accounts for 25 years. It takes a lot for them to make it right. They will go, yep, sorry, that was not us. We got to have bazillions of things saying that this was us, and so far, it's you and 5 other people, so too bad for you. Right? So we've got to be careful. We really have to be careful. Yes, Mark, I do have a book. You can buy it on Amazon. It's called The Trading Book. I was just Googling today, when is it okay to cut a trade before it hits our stop loss? And here you are addressing it tonight, seeing it live. I do have to say, although many times we go, hey, we don't get smarter after the trade's on, what we do get is more information. And that more information allows us to say, I don't have to wait until this hits my stop. I realize, here's what I'm looking at, those guys better not get above this zone, or I'm going to be sitting on the wrong side of the trade. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the trade to break down, but I'm not getting out of the trade early because it hasn't broken down, right? It looks like it's going to break down. I could say, you know what? I'm getting out of here. I'm tired of slopping around in here. But I'm sitting here waiting. Why? This momentum here tells me that we are in a sideways pocket. Might be that I don't get my full amount here, but it does feel like we are in some kind of sideways pocket and it's probably going to pop or break. Okay, so thank you. So many of us come together here. Thank you for all the happiness that oh wait, let's answer some of these. Hey Anne, at what point should I fully commit to trading? When you are making money consistently. And some of us, that takes years, right? It takes years. The goal, my friends, and I do mean that sincerely, because I have a commitment to the Topstep community because I struggled so much as a trader, learning, and when I finally knew what was going on, I had lost a ton of money, and I thought to myself, wow, I want to be part of a company and a community that helps people benefit from my mistakes. Here's what I learned though. In the trading business, we have to make our own mistakes. It's insane. We end up having to make them. It makes us go, man, I wish I'd have figured that out earlier, but there's some sort of mechanical thing that makes us say, I've got to know when I am wrong. And that puts us in a space where we can hear the teacher, but as a student, we're not ready for the lesson. And so staring down the charts, understanding things over and over again, you have to know how to consistently make money. And here's the thing. You have to have a limited amount of pressure to make money, because a desperate trader is just going to lose trade after trade after trade after trade. Why? Your prefrontal cortex gets hijacked. It gets hijacked by cortisol and all the kinds of things that tell us, I'm going to say bye-bye to that one. It hijacks us, and we just never get that. And that's it. We do copy our mistakes over and over and over again. So here's why. Why do we make the same mistakes over and over again? Because somewhere in our anchor of understanding, our paradigm of thought, we think that somehow we're right. And what we have to do is break that paradigm. And that involves staring down your trades, looking at the charts over and over again, just seeing things as they are, not what you wish them to be. And here's the sad story. We're like that with our own humanity, right? We don't see ourselves as we are. We don't understand what makes us tick because it's too hard to dig deep. It is. It's just too hard to dig deep. What if you lose money but you're constant? I hope that's a joke. If you're losing money constantly, you got to step back and go, what am I doing? What am I doing? Yeah, I had to rewire a lot. When I started trading, I was the smartest person in the room. All you had to do was ask me, and I would tell you. Yeah, very big ego. And the market stepped on my neck so many times. And I just kept after it until finally I said, listen, the market's right. The market's leading. You don't know anything. So stuff your ego in the corner, and if you want to make money, you better start changing. You better start changing, or you're going to get what you got. And so there's some of us in the XFA, we're struggling. Some of us in the combines, we're struggling. Realize this, we're all on a journey, and we're all moving into certain spaces. And so you've got to start simple and let that simplicity move you forward. So if it's, I'm going to trade old resistance, new support within a relative trend, that just means, hey, people are buying here. I drew a trend line and they're up. So next dip I see, I'm going to buy there. So I'll put something right here that says, hey, if it comes in, I'm going to buy two of them at 42.57 and I'm going to make my stop 42.54. It is the same. I told work last week that I'd like to transition to part-time from next year. Only managed that once. I switched from trading one mini to trading two micros. Now I have 11 funded accounts. That's fantastic. That's really fantastic. Flow like water. Just keeps, that's right. Just keep swimming. Like Dory from Finding Nemo. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, thank you so much for being with me. We've got a great night ahead of shows. We've got Dakota, we've got Aaron, we've got Tiana, and then we've got our guys showing things up and bringing the morning recaps to us. We're going to have an amazing week. We're going to have an amazing week. Here's the thing. Watch for the support floors. Pay attention and go slow. Very active week. A lot of the option flows are bullish. Just come in, see what's happening. The little simple things. You buy support, you sell resistance, and you make sure you're within trend. Just those simple things, and you can add anything you want. And I'm going to move my head to the side, totally out of the frame, so you can see David's office. And I will show you this. Hang on. Hang on. I shall leave you with the lightsaber.
You ever hear the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? On Cal.
All right, how do I get this thing to turn on? Look at me. I can't even make it go. Oh, there we go. All right, everybody. The Force be with you. Okay. Take care, everybody. See you soon.